Reports from beyond the stars. Taking all bets. Taking all bets. Vernon Boy's going to be distracted by all the things he's been reading and go off on a tangent about alien literature, Gary announces to everyone's amusement as they walk into the office. Apparently, the political finagling meant the video's messages were currently being controlled, but Vernon had indicated that anyone even remotely related to him could see it, which meant that his older brother could have plenty of fun with the audience of an entire family reunion's worth of the Shays, as they used this as an excuse to have an out-of-season get-together. After this, they were heading to a gigantic Chinese buffet just 20 minutes away to make the chefs earn those paychecks. The talk of aliens and space magic and strange ships, and what kind of silly thing that Vernon's gotten stuck into this time, is the common subject, with a few more down-to-earth people wondering if the message was about some injury or if he had been killed in the line of duty. The terms, criminal conspiracy, violent raiders, pirates, and slavers had come up a great deal in the disseminated information. Everyone looked for a seat, and with the whole Shay clan in attendance, there just wasn't enough for everyone, prompting a lot of the younger men to sit on the floor or lean against the walls. "I'm going to keep the door open so you people don't suffocate. Good Lord," the receptionist says with a grin, and is answered by several saying, "Thank you," and a bit of laughter. The lights dim and things start playing on the projector to not only show Vernon smiling beautifully, but with clear hickeys along his neck and a clock in the background stating he started recording this at about 3:30. "Woo!" Gary cheers out, throwing up an arm, and there's a lot of quickly shushed laughter. "Hey, hell. There's no easy way or point to dancing around the topic. I've met someone and I refuse to live another day without her, so I can't go back to Earth, plain and simple," Vernon says before letting out a lungful of air. The awkward man had clearly been building himself up to that for a while. There's a silence, and Gary cannot leave it unfilled. "Well, at least he won't die a virgin." "Gary," his mother snaps. "What the hell?" his youngest brother protests through his helpless laughter. The tension in the room has snapped like a dry twig, and Gary pumps his fist in satisfaction. "As to whom, well?" Vernon then looks to the side, and there's the sound of movement. A blur of red, green, and white silk outright tackles him, and he spins with it before it resolves into him deeply kissing an incredibly beautiful woman dressed in an expensive and elaborate dark red and green dress right out of the Victorian era, with gigantic gemstones for jewelry, and her arms concealed by nearly shoulder-length white opera gloves. Her tan skin complements the tumbling locks of cherry red hair, and topping all of this is a crown and a pair of polished white horns. Then the image flickers ever so slightly, and the clock is now reading 4:15 as the kiss breaks apart. No one in the room comments on the missing 45 minutes, but nobody misses it either. "I missed you," the alien woman says in galactic trade, but it's captioned. "It was 5 minutes." Vernon answers her with an adoring smile. "Still too long." She answers, kissing him on the lips, which he gleefully returns. She then glances to the side to expose her glowing golden eyes. "This is the letter to your family, is it?" "Oh yes. I want to introduce you to them and perhaps someday have you meet them in person. A bit of a challenge to get them all through cruel space, but challenges exist to be overcome," Vernon says, and she nuzzles into him. "When the moon hits your eye like a big..." Gary's delving into song is cut off by a hand over his mouth that he peels off to reveal a huge smile. "What? They're just luxuriating. It's cute, but it's not going anywhere." There's another flicker in the screen, and time has advanced 15 minutes, and this time the room chuckles. "When did the dork get so sappy?" someone asks, as Vernon hugs his alien bride all the tighter, and she turns around to beam at the camera in happiness. "Everyone, meet Princess Miro Noir, my wife. We're heading to her homeworld of Serbo soon. I'm going to be taking part of the Broken Shell tournament and see if I can earn a royal title to match my love." He gushes, and there are sighs from some of the younger girls in the audience. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting any of you yet, Miro Noir says in galactic trade, and it's captioned at the bottom of the screen. But if my Vernon is any example, then yours is a family that will be a joy to be a part of. Meeting her, falling in love with her. It was like the universe finally had taste and color. And that was after the incredible revelations akin to a religious awakening. Magic is real, understandable, and due to language drift, currently known as axiom. Vernon explains in English before holding out his right hand and light emerges in it. A huge windstorm seems to kick up as both of them have their clothes and hair ruffle before it abruptly cuts out, and in the palm of his hand is a tiny ball, a globe of the earth in gleaming gold. He lets his hand drop and the ball simply floats in the air and slowly turns. After a couple of rotations, Miro Noir plucks it from the air and gives Vernon a kiss on the cheek. I'll find a place to put it. Then she leaves the room and he watches her go with a fond smile. Then, after a moment, he turns back to the camera. I once read in a comic book that a true miracle is as rare as turning air into gold. I've memorized the atomic structure of gold and can alter anything into it, or if I use pure axiom to do the job, manifest it from seemingly nothing else. Yes, that's what you can find off of Earth. Miracles. Wondrous, incredible miracles. Please work as hard as you can to join me out here. There is so much for everyone, so much wealth, so much opportunity and wonder. Of course, there is danger, but it's so very worth it. There are moments when I wonder if I'm going to wake up and find this is all just a flight of fancy, a wonderful dream. If it is, then I never want to wake up. If it is, and I do awaken, then I will hold it dear for the rest of my life and do everything I can to make it true. Because something like this kind of happiness, of wholeness, it was worth everything. If I had to go through training to be on the Dauntless twice over again to make it here, then I would. I would do so without question or a second thought. It was worth it. So very, very worth it. What are you telling them, darling? Miro Noir asks, walking back into frame to give him a light kiss. Just how everything was worth it to make it to your arms, and how I'd do it all again without hesitation, Vernon says. Oh, Vernon! She gushes at him and hugs him closely. He holds her gently before she lifts up on her tiptoes to kiss him. There's a flicker and the clock says they spent a half hour gushing over each other to the snickers of the appreciative audience. I've wanted to say something to all of you, Miro Noir says with a smile. There will no doubt be terrible stories about terrible things happening. But do ignore them. So much awaits you humans. And if my Vernon is any example of your kind, then you will thrive beyond the reach of the null. That, and if there are more of you around, it's less likely I'll be called greedy for keeping my Vernon all to myself. There's nothing wrong with one man and one wife, my love, Vernon assures her. I want to believe that, but there's just not enough. I have paradise and so many others don't get so much as a taste, Miro Noir says, and Vernon hugs her close. Forget the rest of the galaxy. It's what you want that I'm concerned with, Vernon whispers, and Gary starts outright applauding. Shut up! But that was smooth, Gary protests with a huge smile as he gestures to the image. Dad, Lisa calls him out, and he puts up his hands in surrender. Apparently no one wants humor in their romance. So strange considering how many romantic comedies his girls have dragged him to. The scene flickers on them gazing into each other's eyes, and the clock behind them says it was 5 minutes long. So yes, I'm staying outside of Cruel Space to be with my wife, although I'd love you all to meet her. There's so much to see, to do. Life eternal and wealth unending are just the tip of the iceberg. He then nuzzles into his wife with a content sigh that she mirrors. There's love without limit as well. As soon as the path to the stars is well and truly open, take it. Please take it. Join us out here. I'd love to have a formal wedding for my Miro Noir and myself. I want to see my wife all in white silk and lace." Gary's younger brother outright slaps a hand over his mouth before he can wolf whistle. Little traitor. He was just fine teasing Vernon when he'd been on Earth, but oh no, now that he was a galaxy away, it was suddenly in bad taste. Anyways, until then, it's going to be hard to stay in touch. With the travel times through cruel space, keeping in touch is a very distant thing. I'll try to send a video every few months, but it's likely going to be a once or twice a year thing. At least until some kind of null-resistant axiom pylon system or relay laser arrays are set up. Of course, that kind of infrastructure is a logistical nightmare, and that's just maintaining it, let alone constructing and transporting such a network. Until then, we've got the, at best, twice yearly mail lances. And isn't that an interesting mental image? A lance made of mail, but would that be mail as in, "You're rambling, my love," Miro Noir says, putting a finger to his lips. He then takes her hand and kisses the back of it. "My apologies. Thank you for leading me back after my mind wandered." Vernon gushes at her and she pulls in for a kiss. He then looks to the camera. "My next message will also have a recording of the tournament, so you'll have something more entertaining than me to keep your attention. I love you all and can't wait to introduce my Miro Noir in person." Then the recording cuts off with Miro Noir waving at them all and the lights brighten up. "Dad, did you have to keep talking?" "Yes, I did, Lisa. I miss him, so I very much had to," Gary says. "Now come on, time to hit that restaurant." The entire family starts moving almost as one as they start to speculate at how long until Vernon gets this Miro Noir pregnant, how weird it is for an alien to only have horns as a difference, or how on, or rather off, Earth Vernon had managed to woo a princess. You know, it's kind of funny. For all the stories of strippers or harems, Vern went and found a girl that was dressed from the neck down and latched on like a limpet to her, and her alone. Shows just how much bullshit's being thrown around in the news. "I heard about alien abductions being next," someone says. "Uncle Steve, you were telling me about alien abductions before the beacon showed up, let alone before the Dauntless was sent out," Gary replies. "It's funny stuff, not to mention how quickly you believed it as a kid. Messing with a 10-year-old's head is not okay, wise guy," Gary protests, and Steve just laughs. Everyone quickly finds their ways to their cars and then to the restaurant. A 20-minute drive needs 45 minutes for everyone to be in the restaurant in question. There's some idle chatter as everyone gets settled and gets their first plate of food. Gary makes a point of making sure both Lisa and Eli have some greens on their plate along with everything else. So the question is, what the heck is a broken shell tournament? Is he going to be karate chopping shells? Is he going to try and karate chop someone with a shell? Is he going to be fighting on top of a shell? What do you guys think? He asks, and the conversations go all over the place.